Hello everybody, Realm Builder Guy here, and welcome back to the channel. And welcome to the ancient world of Imperator Rome. It's been a very long time since I've done anything with Imperator Rome. Of course, some of that is linked to Paradox ending active development back in the late spring of 2021, in fact. But every year they do a little bit of a annual patch around it, so it's not completely gone. And the workshop community, the Steam community, and the modding community around Imperator Rome is very, very much alive. So I wanted to return to Imperator Rome for a new Let's Play series. I've kind of talked about this a few times now on the channel that I wanted to do this. It was also the game that you guys chose, overwhelmingly so, in a poll that I put out a few months ago, looking at this, Victoria 3, Total War, Name Your Poison, Age of Wonders 4, and so on. And overwhelming majority picked, or an overwhelming amount of you picked Imperator Rome. So I decided to go back to the game that I have long since been the opinion of, or at least for me, it is my favorite Paradox game. If you've been a long-time subscriber to the channel, you know this. If not, there are plenty of videos on the channel where I talk about Imperator Rome being one of my, if not my most favorite game for Paradox. The reason why is because I can so easily combine multiple play styles. One, my kind of stereotypical standard roleplay style is absolutely possible in Imperator Rome, but then also just the general strategic aspect of it. It's more about nation building and less about individuals like in CK3, but it's not quite as extreme of nation builder as, say, Europa Universalis is. So it kind of fits a certain sweet spot for me. Plus, the ancient world is one that I just find deeply, deeply fascinating. So this series is, as you can tell, because you've clicked on this, it is called the Pyrrhic Wars. And we are going to be following the story of a house here in Epirus itself. So you got the Kingdom of Epirus here with the leader of Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus himself, a very, very young man, just 14 years old, and of the, I mean, here they call it Aeacid, but he is of the Aeacid or Aeacid dynasty. This is a dynasty that traces its mythological lineage back all the way to Zeus. So you can see how old it is and how powerful it is within the Greek-speaking world. So before I dive into the goals of this series and get going, give you a little bit of a historical background here, specifically related to this young man here, Pyrrhus. Now, he was born in 319 BC in Epirus, where our game will be taking place mainly. He was one of the early major adversaries of Rome, and the term Pyrrhic victory is, of course, based upon him and his Italian campaigns where he had victories over Rome and Carthage, but with very, very heavy losses. He became king at the young age of 13. We find him near at the age of 14, but he was deposed at the age of 17. He then regained the throne at the age of 22 with a newfound ally in Ptolemy I Soter of the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt. How he got embroiled with the Ptolemies is he actually fought as a leader, as a military leader in the Wars of the Diadochi. He actually married one of Ptolemy's stepdaughters in Antigone. Now, once he became king of Epirus yet again at 22, he actually invaded Italy. And he invaded Italy down here in Apulia at the behest of the city of Tarentum. And it was mainly down to the way they were being treated by the young Republic of Rome. Now, he had many battles with Rome and where he scored Pyrrhic victories, but these never really got followed up on. During this time, he actually seized all of Italy and kicked out Carthage, again, at the behest of the Sicilian Greek states that were there, and the city-states like Syracuse and so on. They wanted him to come down and get rid of Carthage, but unfortunately, that did not last. After his Italian and Sicilian campaigns were over, he turned his attention inward and looking here at his neighbor. Now, here's something that's going to trigger at least half of you guys, is how I pronounce this. This is Macedon, Macedonia. I oftentimes defer to the ancient Greek pronunciation, which is not a hard S sound behind Macedon, but instead I oftentimes refer to it as Macedon and Macedonia, because that is how it is pronounced in Greek and in ancient Greek. And so that's kind of the way I lean in my pronunciation. For those of you that are deeply personally offended and triggered by that, I would apologize if I cared. But it's a pronunciation that I pick. It also kind of lifts it from modern Macedonia and North Macedonia and the politics that kind of surround that. So in general, I refer to it as Macedon. Occasionally, I'll refer to it as Macedon just to make some of you happy. But that's your little trigger warning for the series. I will say Macedon and Macedonia. So anyway, he seized the Macedonian throne and then invaded the Peloponnese down here to try to unify all of this under his power. Now, he died in 272 BC at the age of 46 in a street battle in Argos, which is right here. So he died all the way down here in Argos, in that Peloponnesian War. That's when it all kind of fell apart. So in his time, and even after his time, he was considered one of the greatest ancient generals, and even today is considered a very good general. Now, of course, the Pyrrhic victories notwithstanding, Hannibal himself considered him one of the greatest generals of his time, and actually ranked him just behind Alexander the Great. This is according to the writings of Plutarch. He was known for his not just military exploits, but the fact that he was actually quite benevolent. As a leader, he was rather forgiving and kinder for an ancient king, let's be honest here. But he was not good with money. I mean, Epirus was constantly in debt and in financial trouble, and that actually led him down the path of certain alliances that he didn't really want, but he needed the cash. So that is the history, very, very short synopsis of history here around Pyrrhus. And now we're going to go into what I want to do here on the series. So the major goals here, aside from staying in power in Epirus and, probably just conquering some of these smaller areas here as well, and just making sure that we consolidate our control, but is to be more successful than the historic Pyrrhus. Now, ideally, that is with Pyrrhus. I haven't decided yet whether or not the series will end when Pyrrhus dies, because he could die immediately, for all we know. I mean, that's the nature of these games. You just don't quite know what's going to happen, and then that wouldn't make for much of a series. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But the goal is, ideally in his lifetime, to be more successful than he was. So one, we want to conquer Sicily, and we want to hold Sicily. So that, of course, means we need to deal with Syracuse, and we need to deal with Carthage. Taking on Carthage is not going to be an easy task, as the Carthaginians are quite powerful here in North Africa. And for Epirus at this point, that would be a bit of a daunting task. We also want to invade the boot of Italy proper and keep Rome in check. Now, defeating Rome would be interesting, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, pull that one off. But conquering southern Italy and building a Pyrrhic power base here in southern Italy and holding on to it, something that Pyrrhus was not able to do. Domestically here would be, of course, to take on the Macedonians, either conquer them outright or usurp the Macedonian throne, conquer the Greek city-states and all of the Peloponnese, things that he was not able to do. So these are obviously very lofty goals. If we achieve them or get close, we'll have a very powerful Epirus here in this part of the Mediterranean and kind of controlling the ocean here. The other part is we want to have a control over the Balkan region, because Gallic tribes would often invade from in here and actually killed one of the Macedonian kings. When Epirus was called to by Tarentum, he actually was invited by nobles of Macedon to take over the Macedonian throne in response to the king at the time being killed by Gallic invaders. He declined that, instead focusing on Italy, then crossing the mountains into Macedon. So this will be a key area for us here, as well as control over this area, coastal region first and foremost, but then also, you know, keeping an eye on what's happening in here internally as well. The other part is we want to keep an alliance here with the Ptolemaic kingdom. Now, of course, that was historically part of it. And we have Ptolemaeus I Soter, who was not just an ally of Pyrrhus and helped him regain his throne in Epirus, but he was married to one of his stepdaughters. So being allied with the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt will be very, very important. So those are the goals of the series. Now, you may be wondering why some things look a little bit different, why some things are named a little bit differently, and why certain things will play a little bit differently than bog standard Imperator Rome. That is because I have enabled the Imperator Invictus mod for this playthrough series. The link to the mod and its Steam Workshop page is down in the description, and that is really where you can find how Imperator Rome is being kept alive. Beyond Paradox, it is through specifically the Invictus mod that so much great stuff is done. The Invictus mod combines a lot of the best mods for Imperator Rome into one place, and then forms them into a cohesive unit and really expands on things, nerfs certain things, buffs certain things, to make, I'm not going to say the game more balanced. I thought after 2.0, Imperator Rome was extraordinarily good, but they've made it even better and added a lot more historical flavor and so on. Now, of course, I have all the DLCs for Imperator Rome, including the Epirus DLC. If you want to get Imperator Rome or missing any of the DLCs, I do have a link down in the description to my Nexus GG store, where you can get Imperator Rome and all DLCs, and a percentage of the purchase goes back to the channel. So, enough of the setup. It's time to unpause the game. I'm going to turn down the speed here and get going. Now, I will caveat this. It has been an incredibly long time since I've played Imperator Rome. It's been well over a year, probably more like a year and a half since the last time I played this game. So the rust is deep, it is settled, and it is, yeah, I think I've killed that metaphor. But anyway, I'm quite rusty, so if I make a lot of mistakes initially, please apologize. I mean, I do apologize for that and beg on the Senate floor for your forgiveness, and that you do not Brutus stab me for it. So first off, we're going to take a look at Epirus itself. We're going to look at Pyrrhus. Now, Pyrrhus is shrewd, so nobody fools Pyrrhus twice. If there's a path to a bargain, he will be the one to find it. So again, this is where I'm saying I can play both grand strategy in the sense of nation building with this game, as well as focusing on individual characters, because they do have traits and we can play towards them. So shrewd. It's going to be very shrewd in diplomacy, in everything. So he's not going to be dumb. We're not going to officially make dumb mistakes. Unofficially, I will absolutely make dumb mistakes. He is ambitious, Whereas some view the ladder to the top as a challenge, Pyrrhus prefers to see it as firewood. Creatures with this trait will be more likely to murder their way to the top. So he's extremely ambitious. So we're going to be aggressive in all forms of decisions we take. Anything that furthers the goals that I outlined, those are the decisions we will take, whether it's good for the game or just good for the role play. Now, this series will be a little bit more of a map painting series because it's all about conquest. It's called the Pyrrhic Wars, so that's what we're going to focus on. And then he is the blood of Iacchos. Iacchos was the grandfather of the greatest Greek hero Achilles and king of the island of Aegina in the Saronic Gulf. Neoptolemus, son of Achilles, came to the king of the Molossian Epirotes after he returned from the Trojan War. His descendants have ruled ever since, uniting Epirus, contributing to the legacy of Alexander the Great through his mother Olympias. So you can see the clear links there. His parents, he has Aeacid, who's been dead for 9 years, and then his mother Phthia. He's got one friend in Glaucias, who is king. So Glaucias, he is at king level, so that's good to know. And then siblings, he has his 18-year-old sister Didamia and his 12-year-old sister Troias. So we'll choose an educational royal tutor has been summoned to educate the reluctant young Pyrrhus in a manner of our choosing. The nature of a tutor is most important indeed, so we would choose an intended tuition subject carefully. So we have Metron. Metron himself, he is loyal, he has good prominence, no corruption, no popularity, that's fine. He leans heavily into charisma and martial. So, of course, a martial education is something we will most definitely do. So, Pyrrhus loses 10 loyalty and receive new martial ambition. Chance of receiving a negative ambition are increased if your tutor is corrupt, ambitious, or cruel. He is not. So we will go down the martial learning there. Now we'll deal with the stuff atop here. We have a bad research ratio. So we've got a lot of innovations we can go down. So we have a bad research ratio. We will kind of deal with that with time. Our citizens and nobles produce 1.74 research points each month, an output of 20 each year, and 107 integrated. So we need to get that ratio bumped back up. We've got unused trade routes. So we'll go to the trade routes here. So current trade imports are at 0. We are producing honey, wood, fish, horses. We've got livestock. We're producing extra there, and precious metals. So let's see what we can import here. Iron might not be bad. Iron actually will enable heavy infantry. So some iron would probably be good, and I think we can bring it in. We're not going to go to Carthage, Apulia, or the Nicaetic League, Hellenistic local power, Dacian local power. We're going to go to Apulia across the ocean for that. Going to add more iron here, so we'll start getting surplus in the capital. Our heavy infantry discipline will start going up, but we don't really need that. We are lacking is food. So we're going to go with grains. Local food, monthly food goes up. We don't have a surplus, but we're going to add in some grain. We may as well go Dacian. A lot of Dacians here. Or Syracuse. No, we can't do that. We'll go to Getia. Also because we are not going to go to war with anybody from there, so that's not a major concern of ours at this point. You can see our civilization value. It's here. It's going. Food production, food capacity is there. Province loyalty is very, very high. We are nearly 100% Epirote, nearly 100% Hellenistic. Freemen population is pretty good. Citizens and a small slave. We've got governor policy. We can go with acquisition of wealth, which is kind of nice. We can encourage trade, so local monthly food modifier plus 10%, and province commerce goes up. Or local autonomy. I think we're going to encourage food production. So we are lacking a commander, so we need a commander for our fleet, as small as it is. Eros Necritus. He's got a marshal of 10, he's got a marshal of 6, he's got a marshal of 4. He is disciplined and brave, so Erebos. And, okay, so those are all of our fleets. Actually, merge our fleet into one. We don't have to worry about that. And then here, our army, we already have a leader here. He's okay. He's okay. We have unassigned titles. So the office grants the holder of the following event monthly wage. So here we can pick somebody military, good military one. Let's take a look at him. He'd be a better military leader. No corruption. So we've taken care of that. Free idea slots. Military idea. We will definitely go martial ethos. Morale of armies goes up. Permanent shipyards. Or ordered retreat, reinforcement speed, army morale. We're going to go with martial ethos here. So morale of armies plus 5%. Then we can go with oratory or civic. So we can go with standardized construction, complex tariffs, or tax farming. I don't want to go with that necessarily. Oratory, we've got hospitium. We can go with military administration, embracing military administration by merging a clear, ordered bureaucratic framework into our military hierarchy, because it's far easier to coordinate large military reforms. Yes, we are a militaristic society, so we're going to lean heavily into the military. Got state religion. I mean, religion really isn't that important, but origin myth might not be bad. So we will add origin myth. It's a mismatching idea, actually. We need to go with oratory. Would be better. Sanctioned privileges. Look the other way. Our corruption would go down, but we currently don't really have a corruption issue. Hospitium. Improve opinion maximum plus 50%. We'll do that. So we got that taken care of. And an omen. I think we'll do Heracles. Or Zeus. Aggressive expansion change. We're going to go with Zeus. Gods are smiling upon us. Aggressive expansion change minus 0.05, of course. Zeus being one of the forebears, really, of Pyrrhus and the Aeacid dynasty. Next, we're going to look at here inventions. So we've got 8 possible. So we do want to go down military. Military artisans. I mean, this leads to a lot of good things. Here we've got martial science. And then here we've got astral navigation. So we definitely will need a navy. I mean, we'll really need everything, won't we? We're going to lean heavily martial. We're going to go martial science. Will cost 1 innovation and give the following effect. Army weight modifier minus 10%. So we'll have added that. Then astral navigation increases our naval range. We will have to do that to go down that route. And military artisans as well. I mean, this is a militaristic society, so we're going to have to pick military things first and foremost. Then we can do learning on the job. This increases here. I'm not really that impressed by that. Basic training. I really like basic training, so we'll add that one. We can do logistics division, so supply limit goes up. So we're going to add that one as well. And then here we can go with sapping. That, of course, helps with sieges. Pentas pastos. So fort defense goes up, and Boeotian helmet, so the discipline will go up. Well, I think we've done enough on the martial side for now. Now let's go take a look at civic advances. Standardized measures is good. Import value goes up, but it also helps us, you know, do property taxes and things like that. So we're going to do standardized measures. Right to be heard, I'm not really concerned with that right now. Look at oratory advances, what we have here. We can do Effetiales. So triumphal coins, divine mandate, transferred citizenship, defending liberty, local embassies. These are pretty good. Legal patronage, a system of legal sponsorship will establish means of hierarchy within the echelons of our realm. Humane conduct. Concept of battlefield honors has existed for millennia nonetheless. Should set down a code for dealing with our opponents. I do like this. It fits into kind of what Pyrrhus was known for. Not very interested in any of the religious things at this point. I mean, this is a martial society. I think if we look further here, rights I'm not overly concerned about, but property tax would be good, so national tax will go up. And we can use that, and that takes care of all of our innovations. Now if we go down here, we can see this is our national overview, as well as the administration and the provinces where things are. We currently have one. Our government, our offices, who's leading it, of course, is none other than Pyrrhus himself. And then the different laws we have. Currently, we cannot enact any laws because we don't have the political influence for it. Economically, at this time, I think what we're going to do, we're not going to, I mean, we don't have any forts, so fort maintenance is one of the first things you would dial down. We could also dial down fleet and army maintenance, but we will be going to war relatively soon, so I don't see a point in doing that. Nothing really here we want to do. We can do emergency tax and neglect research, which bumps up income, which is something we would do at a active time of war. Religion we already took care of. Culture groups, I mean, we're not a multicultural society yet, so it's not really something I'm concerned with. We already went through our trade, so they're nothing to worry about. Our military right now, our composition, we've got light infantry, heavy infantry, and heavy cavalry. Click on raise levies, you can go to war. These are all the mercenaries we can bring in. Then we have diplomacy. Right now we have an alliance with, to the north, with Taulantia, and then of course importing from Getia and Apulia. So having a northern ally is pretty good. We can see here we've got some streets right across here. We need to look south, or we need to look to the west. Building up a relationship with Syracuse, I think it would be very, very good. We're targeting a Sicilian invasion. And then, of course, the Ptolemaic Kingdom is one that we desperately want to get involved with. We've currently, really nobody's a huge fan. The Bosporan Kingdom is always a nice one. This is one of my favorite playthroughs is with the Bosporus Kingdom. Ptolemaic Kingdom, what we're going to do here is we are... Let's see, what can we do here? We cannot improve major power outside our diplomatic range. So we need to increase our diplomatic range first, which we can't really do at this time. So we're going to look a little bit closer to home. The Antigonids would help against the Macedonians. I think right now an alliance with Macedon wouldn't be bad, because then we could at least protect this back door a little bit. Macedon itself... Cassandros, he has Casus Bellis, guaranteeing subjects, trying to see military access. He's not at war right now. We can't, I mean, we can offer an alliance, but it's not really going to go anywhere. Instead, what we can look at is Apulia. We cannot offer an alliance right now there either, just because everyone really doesn't care for us too much. Syracuse. We can offer an alliance with Syracuse right away. So it'd be good to have an alliance in Sicily. because we will be landing in Sicily eventually. We want to take on Carthage. Rome, no, we can't do anything there, but they wouldn't be a bad one to ally with initially, just to kind of neutralize them a little bit. And there's always my old friends in Sparta, where we could ally with them. It's not a bad one. They start with no foreign relations. That was not the case for me initially. Thrace, the Antigonids are outside of our influence. The Etruscans, Etruria, now they're going to get absolutely hammered by Rome relatively early on. So just looking at what could be of most interest to us here currently, Macedon, what we will do there is actually we will improve relations. We've got the cash, so we're going to start improving relations with the Macedonians. And I think getting into an alliance, what do they have? They've got subjects, casus belli, internally there, guarantee military access, exporting, importing. They're exporting to the Antigonid Kingdom, so let's offer an alliance. Excellent, so now we've got an alliance. If we look at our diplomacy right now, at Epirus, we've got active alliances, so we're okay there right now. We're okay. We're okay. We're not great, but we're okay. Tech-wise, we took care of that. Characters and missions. So, now there is a mission tree for Epirus. If you don't know, Imperator Rome works on mission trees, and these mission trees kind of guide you through the game a little bit, and they also guide you down an historical path, or an ahistorical path. So the Molossian consolidation. Epirus is to become a feared power once again. She must be strong within and without. The Molossians' petulant division has driven her into chaos. Now almost bow to the king and respect his wishes. Epirus is to survive. Completion criteria: secure the throne of Epirus and strengthen her position. So start the mission. Our recent past has been ignominious, tainted by constant civil war and military blunders. Many of our woes can be laid squarely at the Molossians' feet, who demand new leadership at a whim. We must bring control of the country into the hands of the monarch alone. We are to restore Epirus to greatness. Epirus will be feared again. So, it's a small tree. It's a very small tree. So there are a few things we have here. We've got tribal command, Talentian diplomacy, Titan administration. But we've got two things we can go down. We can do royal wedding. So conditions, we meet the conditions for this. The upheaval of recent years has placed power over the Hellenic world into the hands of monarchic Diadochi powers. A royal marriage would be an excellent way to exert influence and build friendships with few kingdoms. So a royal marriage with a foreign ruling dynasty may be arranged, improving relations. So it's not bad, depending on who this would be with. Southern claims. Task will take 365 days to complete. So we've got more than 5 political influence. We would lose the 5 political influence. Epirus gains claims of the territories of Abrachia, Stratos, and Tyrrhenian. So basically these right here, if we look at them, the overlord is Macedon. So that's the problem here. They are tied into Macedon. So Southern claims might not be the smart play right now, depending on what happens with Macedon. A royal wedding for the good of the family. The Molossian Council has agreed that it is time for a royal marriage. A royal marriage was arranged for one of the foremost Aeacid maidens in order to promote our interests and secure relationships abroad. Preparations are underway to explore the possible suitors to be found among the Hellenic kingdoms. So, we have too many relations. Of course we do. We're losing political influence of minus 10%, which we can afford right now. So, I have not hit unpause, and I do not plan on hitting unpause in this episode. We kind of have the setup going. Kind of know where we want to go. We're going to build more military units over time, strengthen our military, strengthen our economy so we can build the military, and then see where we can go in terms of, you know, conquest. Southern Italy probably being the first target here, especially now that we have that alliance with Syracuse. Landing in Sicily and doing some good work down here might be the right way to do it. So let me know your thoughts on this series and Imperator Rome over all your experiences with it. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're new here, this is your first video you're ever watching on the channel, or you've watched a few and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Also, links down in the description to a whole bunch of stuff, including Patreon, and you can also check out other videos here on the channel, including past Imperator Rome videos. So until next time, I'm Realm Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.